Hello soulmates, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time checking out this channel, you are welcome, and for all those who have always been with me, thank you for coming back. Today I'm going to show you how you could get a scissors neckline design or a crisscross neckline design. So in order to get this design, you will have to have some prerequisite knowledge of a princess dart bustier pattern. If you do not have this knowledge, I'm going to put a link in the iCard where you could see how I draft this pattern, and I'm also going to put a link in the description box, and I'm also going to pin that same video in the comment section so that you will be able to understand fully what I'm doing here. So this is my pattern, my half-length pattern of a princess dart bustier. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to manipulate this pattern in order to get the neckline, the crisscross neckline that we're going to do. So everything is added to this pattern. My side seam allowance, the only thing that is not added is my joining seam allowance, and I will do that when I'm going to cut out sew this pattern together. So this is my pattern, and what I'm going to do in order to make it very clear for you to understand, I'm going to use a different color marker than black so that you'll be able to see exactly what I'm doing. So let's start talking about the shoulder measurement. So this shoulder measurement is exactly on the tip of my shoulder. But if you notice the design of this dress, it does not go down to the tip of the shoulder, but the neck, it's closer to the neck. So what I did, I made a neck measurement. So if I should fold my paper like this, you see that this is half of the front. So what I did, I make my neck measurement 3 inches by 3 inches. So because this pattern doesn't require the neck width to be wide or the depth to be deep. So what you're going to do, you're going to draw the full scale of the front bodice pattern. So what I want you to do is that at this point, the shoulder, you're going to choose which shoulder you want. It really doesn't matter. You're going to choose which shoulder you're going to work with first. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this shoulder, and what I'm going to do, you're going to determine the width that you want your neckline to be. I'm just going to go in about 1.5 inches, or about 1.5 inches from my shoulder tip, and I'm gonna make a mark there. Also, you're going to go to the center point. So now here is my center point. So from this center point, this is my chest line. This is my chest. Let me just put that here. This is my chest line. So from your chest line, I want you to go down about 1.5 inches also, and you're going to make note of that point. Now you're going to take this curved ruler, because you don't want this to be too straight. So you're going to take your curved ruler and you're going to connect those points like this. When you connect this point, you're going to draw a line down to the center of your pattern, like this. Okay, soulmates. So when you have drawn this here, I want you to go to the neck area. Now we're going to think of it this way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to maintain this 3 inches because this measurement, this design is very close to the neckline. So what I'm going to do, from here, I'm going to measure what distance this is. Okay, this is about 5.5 inches, and half of that is going to be 2.75. So from here I'm going to measure 2.75, which is here, And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to connect this point with a curve all the way here till I get to the chest line here, because all of this is going to be off. All right, so I hope you understand fully what I'm doing so far. So I'm going to use the curved part of my ruler to get that right here. So now you see that the middle part of this scissors effect is formed, but I want you to know, so we're going to cut away all of this, okay? That's going to be cut off, and also here is also going to be cut off. Okay, so all of this here is not going to be needed anymore. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut this out, all of this here, and then we're going to have two panels. We're going to have this panel, which is the front piece, and this panel, which is the second piece. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to cut this out. Now this is what you're going to have. Basically, this is all you're going to need for this design. Why? Because I will have to cut 2 of this and 2 of this. Okay? So when I'm cutting, I'm going to cut 2 of each thing. Now let's talk about the back. Let's talk about the back before we go. So remember we said that for the back, this is my back pattern. For the back, we went in 1.5 inches here, so we have to do the same thing. Okay? So, what you need to ask yourself, are you going to maintain this thing here, this shape here, or are you going to, you know, spice it up a bit? It all depends on what you want. You could spice it up a bit for it to have what they call it, a V shape, or you could just leave it like this. It all depends on what you really want. So I think I maybe just leave it like this. Okay, so all of this will come off. Okay, or if you want, you could maybe bring this down and just make some you know, blend it up nicely, or make it depends on what you want. It depends on what you want. Doesn't matter, or you can make it straight, but I'll just go with this one. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut this out. So this is what you're going to have. If you notice that if I should turn this like this, then you're going to have the same thing here. Okay? You're going to have the same thing. And as I said, it depends on you what you want to do with this part. You could take it in, draw it out, make it however you like. Okay, so you could do it this way. You could do it this way, and then draw it back to this point and cut that off if that's what you want. Okay, so whatever you decide, that's how you want to do it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut this out and I'm gonna show you what it looks like when you're sewing it. Okay, soulmates, welcome back again. This is the sewing part. So before I start to show you how this is sewn, just to let you know that this is the second time that I am actually going to sew this project together. So I finished sewing everything. This was the result of the one that I did. Everything was sewn together. The video was edited, and for some reason or the other, while I was filming the second part of it, my phone was telling me I have no storage because I use my phone to film. So after filming, editing, after deleting so many apps and editing the video, I went back now to download the video so that I could upload it. And to my surprise, I cannot find the video up till now. And some of the files that I needed to actually show you exactly what I did, it's lost. So this is the second time that I'm filming. So I decided that I used my main fabric to do this one. I'm not going to use my main fabric. I'm going to use a muslin fabric just to show you how it is sewn. So what you're seeing here is actually a muslin fabric, and the only thing I found was this lining. So I'm just going to show you how it's done with this lining also. So this is my back and this is the front part. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take in the darts at the back. I already marked them. And also I must tell you, on this fabric, I went all out and I padded. Put pads in it, you see. But I'm not going to do this with the muslin fabric because I'm not going to wear it, and I'm just going to waste that interfacing. So you should go ahead and before you start, ensure that you pad your bustier. Okay, so let's go. I went ahead and I took in my darts at the front and also at the back. What you need to do is notch, and then you iron it down. And remember, you should pad yours. I'm not going to waste my stuff. So you notch. Okay, you see that? Notch. Both the lining and the main fabric itself. Notch it really nicely. Okay, so now that you have this, so this is what it's going to look like. All right, this is what it's going to look like. So let me tell you something before I go. You see, when I was cutting this on the fabric, I added an extra 1/2 inch here. You could add whatever seam allowance you want. I just went for 1/2 inch. I added an extra 1/2 inch here for sewing allowance. So there's something important that I needed to do. You see, when you take in your seam allowance here, you're going to notch the seam allowance right here. You're going to notch it right there at that point. It's important that you do that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to sew the lining to this main part of the fabric. I'm going to sew it, take my seam allowance all the way down, and I'm going to stop here. Okay, I'm going to stop here. And then the seam allowance that I've left, it should be notched. So you're going to leave it as that. You're not going to do this part until that's the last thing we're going to deal with when we sew it together. So the next step is to sew all the way down with your seam allowance that you've left, and then I'm going to tell you what to do next. So these are my two pieces. So right sides facing each other. It will be this, and I'm gonna go to this point, and I'm gonna take my seam allowance, and I'm gonna show you what to do. So what I want you to do at this point, you're just going to notch it, okay? Notch it right here. Notch it. Not too far, because you're going to still take that seam allowance at the end of the day. So you're going to notch it. Where am I? Here. You're going to take your seam allowance that you've left. Okay, so be careful. All right, now that you do that, you're going to iron this down, let it stay flat. So I'm going to just sew it towards the lining here. Okay, so I went ahead and I ironed each of my pieces and the darts. Okay, this is what you're supposed to have. When you pad yours, it's gonna be very beautiful, I'm telling you. So what you're going to do now is that you're going to attach the main fabrics at the side and also the lining. So the back part, you're gonna take it and you're going to attach it right here. You're going to attach them at the side and also the main fabric. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, soulmates, so I went ahead and I attached the sides. So what you're going to do now is that you're going to attach the upper part. So right sides facing each other, you're going to go ahead and you're going to attach the upper part to the lower part. And also you're going to do the neckline. So this is where I slit where the zipper will be. So what you're going to do, you're going to sew your whatever seam allowance you left to that part, and then you're also going to sew the top half and top stitch as much as you can, and then we're going to iron that down. So what you're going to do, you're going to go ahead and notch, okay? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna try and as best how I could top stitch it, but if not, you're going to turn it over and you're going to iron it really well. Okay, soulmates, so what I did was that I went ahead and I ironed down everything. You see how beautiful that looks inside? And this is the other piece, okay? When you pat it, it's going to look beautiful. Next thing we're going to do is that we're going to take the front, because now this is what it's going to look like. One is going to overlap the other like this. So what you're going to do, you're going to take it to your sewing machine, and the seam allowance that you have left, you're going to take that in, okay? Take in the seam allowance. Remember that you should have notched. So I'm going to take this seam allowance in now. That's what I'm going to do now. You're also taking it on your lining, okay? Take it on your lining also. Like this. Okay? Make sure that you take it on your lining. So, soulmates, so I'm gonna show you what I have when I do that. When you do that, you're going to have something that looks like this. Okay? See that? You're gonna have something that looks like this when you're done with everything. It's gonna look like this. Okay? This is what it's gonna look like. So now you're going to attach them at the shoulders. So you're going to take, so it should look like this. Hold it under. So this one goes with this one. So you're going to take this one and you're going to put it inside this one, or vice versa, which one ever rocks your boat. Like this. So you're going to push your finger in between these and you're going to grab this one, pull it through like this. So now you're going to have them equally on each side like this. And then you're going to go ahead and take your seam allowance, okay? your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Ensure that they match perfect. Okay? See that? See? That's what you're supposed to have. Okay, let me just double check if I did my seams close by each other. Okay, so let me just check to see that it's very close, especially at the top to the slit. It should stop exactly at the slit that you made, or else it's gonna have a little opening, and you don't want that. Okay, so this is what you're supposed to have. See? And remember to open this. Let me show you what that looks like. See? This is what it's gonna look like at the end of it when you finish sewing. Okay, so this concludes the crisscross neckline. This is how the back looks. Remember the V that we did? That's how it looks. So this was what I did initially. As I said earlier, I went ahead and I used my main fabric and I did it. This was what I came up with. See, it's the same thing. The only thing is that I padded this one and came out pretty. It's pretty. Okay, so you know what I'm gonna say. If you find this video helpful, do not forget to give me a giant thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the post notification bell so you'll be notified each time I make a video. Until we meet again, I'll see you in my next one. Bye! Alright. Okay, before I go and my children send me off, if you try this style, I would like to hear your comments, concerns in the suggestion box. So please leave a comment and let me know how it turned out. Until we meet again, I'll see you in my next one. Bye.
Bye.